Welcome to miniatures.de, your military miniatures magazine. In this issue we are going to mix our own German Feldgrau Nr. 2 using Vallejo 70.830 German Field Grey RAL 7009 as a reference. Field Grey No. 2 was the designated color of German uniforms and painted equipment in World War I, but many variations occurred in wartime production, of course. The color is now designated RAL 7009 Green-Gray, and Vallejo 70.830 Field Grey is a perfect match of that. Tamiya XF65 has a noticeable bluish cast, and Revell 67 is too green and too saturated to be a perfect match, but both of these paints are good to use for German World War I uniforms. All three paints will have to be tinted with white or dark yellow to account for aerial perspective, of course. We begin by adding 3 parts of yellow ochre, pigment yellow 42, artist acrylic paint to our mixing container. Yellow ochre is one of the most versatile artist acrylic paints in our inventory, which is why we buy large containers of it. Having to scoop paint from a nearly empty container like this one will make measuring paint quantities more difficult, but mixing paint is actually quite an easy task to get into. Now we add 1 part of neutral gray, pigment green 17, artist acrylic paint to the mixing container to cause a U-shift towards green. Yellow ochre mixed with neutral gray, black or indigo offers a nice range of muted and desaturated greens used in miniature painting. Many of our mixing tutorials begin with yellow ochre simply because it is such an easy and rewarding paint pigment to work with. We use artist acrylic paint for mixing because they are much cheaper than hobby paints and they deliver predictable results. In this case, pigment yellow 42 and pigment green 17 give us a nice mud brown or leather brown with many interesting applications. So let's add another part of neutral gray to darken the mixture even more and shift it towards olive green. Now this is starting to look like an olive green we might want to use for Japanese uniforms of World War II. The color is too saturated to be used directly on a miniature, but this can be fixed by tinting with white or dark yellow. Okay, we're getting closer to Field Grey No. 2, but the color needs to be darkened even further to match Vallejo 70.830. Depending on the scale of the miniatures, we might tint this mixture with white and begin painting German infantry with it. It is important to remember that cloth for uniforms was dyed by different manufacturers who are known to have produced variations. So let's add a 3rd part of neutral gray to darken the mixture further and see where that takes us. That's better yet. We are so close to our Vallejo Field Grey sample already that we might stop here and start painting miniatures. The mixture is less brown now and it is showing signs of graying, which is exactly what we want to achieve. 1 final part of neutral gray should do the trick here. In fact, this mixture is so easy it can be done directly on the paint palette whenever we need a small amount of Field Grey No. 2. The recipe can be memorized or recorded on a sample paint sheet for future reference. Minor color variations are sure to occur from one batch of painted figures to another, making the troops look that much more realistic when they are deployed together. It's a time-saving device when slight color variations occur naturally, rather than having to be added later. German field grey trousers tended to fade more quickly than field grey tunics, because trousers had to be washed more often. It's important to consider this fact when we paint miniatures. The easiest way to handle this is to underpaint the miniature in the darker tunic color and then tint the paint more for the trousers. Of course, RAL 7009 is the original color used on a 1:1 scale item of uniform or equipment. When we paint 1:76 scale figures, this original color needs to be tinted with 15 to 20% white. So now we can paint a sample paint chit in this mixture and record the recipe on the back. This will allow us to replicate the mixture very accurately at any time in the future. Now, to start painting German infantry of World War I, we need to tint this mixture with white or dark yellow. So let's add 1/2 of one part of white to our mixture. We have to be careful here because titanium white will tint the mixture very quickly and make it more gray. A moderate amount of graying and desaturation is exactly what we are looking for. But we don't want to overdo the effect and risk ruining our field gray mixture. If the painted figures were to turn out too dark, we could always highlight them later. Tinting with dark yellow is an option, but that will result in a U-shift towards green. If we shifted the mixture towards the green spectrum, it might look more like RAL 67 green-gray, which is more suitable for World War II field gray. So this simple mixture may be tweaked in one direction or another, depending on which type of field gray we are actually looking for. This amount of tinting seems about right for Airfix 1:76 scale German infantry of World War I. So here they are, now that we have airbrushed them in our own mixture of German Field Grey Nr. 2. We sprayed the field gray uniform color directly onto the gray plastic without priming or undercoating. This works because artist acrylic paint sticks perfectly to soft plastic miniatures. The acrylic paint forms a flexible skin on the plastic. It does not crack or chip off. Now we can place any leftover paint on our wet palette and continue painting these Airfix infantrymen. The wet palette will keep our Field Grey Nr. 2 mixture fresh for days, even weeks if stored in the refrigerator. Our field gray will be mixed and tinted further to create all the color variations we may need. The first such variation is an even more faded field gray, with which we will paint the trousers. Again, we will be using titanium white to tint our field gray enough to be noticeably different. We just want to give a few of these soldiers nicely faded trousers to make them look like veterans and differentiate them from any recruits who are still wearing matching field tunics and trousers. Faded trousers need to be tinted enough to be visibly different from the tunics before we continue shading and highlighting the miniatures. This is good because the trousers look different enough without suggesting an entirely different color. There are photos of German soldiers wearing dirty, off-white cotton drilled trousers with their field gray tunics, but we don't want to go to such extremes yet. In August of 1914, stone gray trousers were issued, and it would not be surprising to see replacements wearing these. Officers typically wore higher quality uniforms, and they were better able to maintain their dress in the field. To account for this, officers should look less weathered, even if their campaign uniform is of an earlier pattern. In fact, a recently transferred Landwehr officer might make it a point to continue to wear his active service uniform for as long as it could be maintained under field conditions. A younger, less privileged subaltern, on the other hand, might have little choice but to adopt the simplified M1913 Landsturm pattern uniform. It is this kind of variety which will make plastic soldiers look realistically weathered on campaign, either in a diorama or a wargame unit. Mixing our own colors, we get the necessary variety at no extra cost, because colors naturally deviate from one batch of figures to the next without us having to methodically plan for any of it. So here's the paint recipe for German Field Grey Nr. 2 once again for future reference. For best results, remember to use single pigment artist acrylic paints containing pigment yellow number 42, pigment green number 17, and pigment white number 6. Thank you for watching. For more information, you're welcome to visit our website at miniatures.de.